Shroud. And yeah, let's get into it. What is your headspace right now?
Well, right now I'm just thinking about all the things that I have to do over the next, 5 days, 4 hours. Yeah. Like touring is like this, it's just a non-stop roller coaster of driving to venues, unloading, sound checking. Hopefully you can eat, and then the show starts, and then we sell our own merch. We just do everything ourselves, so it's a lot of work on the road. Although sometimes we have days off and we do things like go to jelly bean factories and stuff.
That's true.
But that's it can be rare.
Okay, well, here's kind of an obvious question, but how did you come up with the name Death's Dynamic Shroud?
There's a YouTube video that, how do you, James, you take this. You know the...
I was into like just strange YouTube videos, and back in 2014 I discovered this, I think she's from New Zealand. It was like a middle-aged lady who made like a very rudimentary 3D animation in the DAZ software. She was called Mad Cat Lady. You can still find her on YouTube. She does weird stuff. And she had this video called deathsdynamicshroud.wmv, which I always thought it was so funny when people would like upload something to YouTube but not even have like
the presence of mind.
Yeah, the presence of mind. You're like, oh, I should delete like the file extension.
Yeah.
And it was just like so like Vaporwave, which we just thought was like kind of funny, you know? But it's this weird video of just like a skeleton wearing a shroud, and she makes her own like insane music to go with it that's just like
What goes into constructing a track from start to finish? Like, how does the seed of an idea end up into like a finished song?
Various ways, I'd say, because we have different processes, like depending on who starts the song. Like, there's no one way of doing it, I guess, but sometimes it's one of us will write something on either piano or guitar or some sort of loop or something, and then if we can all be in the same room to work on it together, then it's kind of like you take the computer for like an hour or something like that, and like Keith, the other member who's not present right now because he didn't play live.
We caught that.
Okay,
We
yeah.
missed Keith.
Yes,
Hope
yes.
Keith is doing well.
Oh, yes, he is well. I think he is playing regional shows to Ohio right this second.
oh, right now? Tonight?
I don't know.
Oh.
Anyway, but yeah, like as a giant claw, like. But anyway, it's just kind of taking turns with at the computer, and you know, if Keith is at the computer and James and I are sitting there, then like we might be like, oh, do this, yeah, wait, do that, and like,
Wait, can I sit down?
Yeah,
I got this idea. I'm just like, yes. So it's like, all right, you can take it over
Okay,
again.
so
You
it's
know?
very collaborative.
Very,
like hardcore.
yeah. And sometimes it's like, oh man, this would be so much sicker if there was like a bass line that like, and be like, Keith, can you make a bass line for this? Because he's like really good at that. And
It's
so,
become like a meme when we're interviewed that we say that Keith writes all the bass lines. It's not necessarily true, but
Yeah.
he's definitely the sickest bass line writer.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I was about to say, are there any sort of recurrent goals that you have when crafting a song? So Keith is the bass guy.
We've all known each other since we were in high school.
Yeah.
So, and Tech and I specifically, like we were in a band together in high school and long after, and we just really developed as musicians together. And so there's just this kind of absolute trust and understanding that we have of each other as musicians. Where it's like I already know how Tech's gonna feel about an idea before I ever bring it to him, and like invite, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
I'll have to have my defense ready to go or whatever. But yeah, it's just like very much intimately knowing exactly what everyone is sort of capable of doing, and just being like, you should do this because you're better at doing this kind of thing. Just a lot of ego killing and just working together to try to make the best thing that we can make.
So some of your tracks are quite danceable, and there's just so many emotions in your songs, but I would say an undercurrent that's common in all of them is kind of a sense of melancholy, or something gloomy.
Well, I would say that when we were in a band together, and when we were younger, we've always been kind of melodramatic people, especially with, like romance, but we've also been just really into very kind of like epic themes and grandiose ideas, which kind of plays into that sort of epic melodrama, like a Wagner opera or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that, especially working things out on, the more recent albums like Heavy Black Heart and Dark Life specifically, the themes that end up emerging as we work on these tracks together, there is that sort of pensive melancholy, but there's also this kind of affirmation of life that I hope kind of comes through.
For sure.
Not necessarily like, you can make it, you can do it.
It's bittersweet.
It's bittersweet.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be as simple as like, well, it doesn't matter, so keep on living, Like there's many sort of different ways to look at it, but I guess we're just kind of dramatic people.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just drawn to that kind of, those romantic chord progressions and that kind of thing.
So, is there any particular track or album that encapsulates your sound the best? Or who you are as musicians?
I mean, Dark Life, I think, is probably
Dark Life, when we worked so hard on Dark Life, and when it was done, we were extremely proud of what we had accomplished, because it was like, all right, it's like we made, God, how many, well, up to that point, I guess, only a couple dozen albums, but it was like, all right, this is like the culmination of everything that we've ever been working towards, and now we're working on a new album that's, probably down the road, because there's still a lot of work to be done, but
yeah, I think Dark Life I think all three of us really embrace all kinds of music.
And like the lyrics in your music can be really cryptic at times, and is even in Korean. Is there some sort of backstory to that?
Well, I mean, that was like the Vaporwave influence back in like 2014, because a lot of people were using a lot of Japanese and mixing it with English, like the old like city pop records that would have English smashed in there, exactly. And then when Keith and I got together to make Evangelies, the idea was, okay, we'll use Korean instead of Japanese because it would be like cool, you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But as far as like cryptic lyrics and stuff, I mean, that just comes from growing up Radiohead fans. You know what I mean? This is like that influence. We always liked music that it wasn't all necessarily spelled out for you, and you could sort of
fun to
draw
interpret.
draw your own conclusions.
Yeah.
So your music is vaporwave at some points and sometimes not, but how do you feel about being identified with the genre? What do you like about the vaporwave aesthetic?
You're gonna leave this one for me.
It's all you. Tech is probably a little.
Let's hear it, yeah.
I mean, vaporwave in one sense was wonderful because it was the community was very unique and special and really embraced Decimating Shroud, and we're always appreciative of that. Vaporwave over time became something else that we weren't as interested in, which is why we kind of moved away from it to some degree.
May I ask what it was that it became?
I think there was just like I don't even.
I would say at the beginning, the people that were first doing it, they were all like the first people that were executing these ideas. So, like Vectroid, Saint Pepsi, I mean, even George. It's like all these people were just hanging out on music forums and making really weird music. I mean, like Floral Shop, like fucking blew my mind when I heard it after a lifetime of listening to Radiohead and progressive rock and classical music and whatever. I remember, Tech showed me Floral Shop, and I was just like, holy shit, like none of these cuts are like on the beat. Like this is crazy.
Cool.
Like this is really, really wild. But I think because, like some people perceive Vaporwave as being like lazy because it's all sample based. But there were so many good ideas coming out of it. But as it got more popular, a bunch of lazy artists did sort of appear because it was kind of easy to do, you know.
Yeah, and the ideas became stale, and
repetitive.
then
I mean, it was
started to lean
12
into-
years ago.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? It's like
That's just what happens.
It's what happens with
and, but
anything.
it's just why it's fine. But it's also like because the community was such an important part of it.
Mhm.
It was kind of a strange thing to be a vaporwave artist, and when you start moving away from that, it's like.
I mean, a lot of
It's
people,
always still associated.
the vaporwave specifically tends to sort of like pounce on people that distance themselves, even just like slightly.
Yeah, like.
But that said, it's like we were never like, fuck vaporwave,
Yeah.
we're not vaporwave,
And in
you
fact,
know?
we still sometimes make it. Like,
Yeah, like
it's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Because we're both like trained instrumentalist musicians, we thought it would be fun to play with samples after, you know, a lifetime of thinking, oh, we have to do everything from scratch, otherwise it's not really music or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? So Vaporwave helped us kind of break out of that. At the same time, we were real kind of like cynical about all the subgenres and stuff, and like Death Dynamic Shroud, it was kind of, you know, a joke about Vaporwave, and we said our genre was New World, which didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
We didn't actually mean that. It was
Yeah.
just like, it's all these subgenres of Vaporwave that you've never heard of,
Okay.
just to sort of like be a commentary on that, I guess. But
So for our last question,
Mhm.
it's going to be, what do you hope listeners feel when they listen to your recent music?
I mean, I hope that they swoon. You know, it's like I've always thought like one of the most fun things about being a musician, or especially like a performing musician, is if someone could walk in feeling a certain way and then witness your performance and then just have their heart shattered, or, you know, be driven to tears, or just feel some sort of intense emotional experience that's then sort of grafted onto, you know, that music for, you know, from that point forward. So just really intense emotional response, I guess.
Yeah, I think like, I mean, similarly, I guess, when I listen to like the music that I like the most, it's like almost like a feeling of connectedness, where it's like being so happy that this artist decided to do this thing, because it feels almost like it's like, yes, somebody else understands this thing that I also feel, you know, not through lyrics necessarily, but just like through ideas. And then I guess my hope would be that somebody would hear Destiny Shroud and feel similarly. So.
Yeah, and I feel like Death Dynamic Shroud, you know, it's just like the music doesn't appeal to everyone, but the people that it does appeal to, they're like our people. You know,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it makes us,
Which
made
is
a
nice.
lot of awesome
It
connections.
creates a connection.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I think people were really feeling intense emotions out there, actually. Like, I saw people, like, I was getting tearful personally.
Oh.
Like, I'm not just, I was, and I think people were really feeling the feelings that you wanted them to
Oh,
feel.
well, thank you so
Yeah.
much. That's the
Yeah.
greatest compliment you could give us.
Of course. And thanks for the interview.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course,
Thank
yeah.
you.
All right.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Not at all. Bye.